Ainz and Equestria, written by Zakin. Unpunctual guest's third part. In the luxurious office of his room, Momonga was receiving the updated reports. That would be all in the reports regarding Nezaric's operational status. Ainz-sama. Excellent. Thanks to all your efforts, the tomb is able to operate indefinitely at 60% of its capacity. Although it is a pity that we still cannot find materials or substitutes for the medium-high and superior range consumables. Yes, the explorers continue to expand the search constantly. We still need to explore a good part of the globe. As for what you previously ordered, here is the list of the pop monsters and mercenary NPCs of the 4th floor that are able to go underwater for a prolonged time. I also took the liberty of including an inventory of summoning scrolls of mercenary NPCs with underwater capabilities. Hala, excellent job. I expected no less from the Guardian Supervisor. The Scoopus blushed at her master's words and replied while holding her hands on her cheeks, moving her hips and wings slightly. I am not worthy of your sweet words, Ainz-sama. Why did I have to alter her settings? Feeling a bit uneasy, Ainz asked. Elbda, when you call me by that name, what do you think? I think the name fits you perfectly and that I love you. It shows how righteous it is that you are a supreme master. This name originally belonged to all 41 members, including your creator Tabula Smaragdina. I have ignored the others and assumed this name without permission. Considering this, how do you think they would feel? Although you may be offended, please allow me to say this: if this bothers Ainz-sama, you may even order me to end my own life. If Momonga-sama used that name, I'm sure that the rulers who left us behind would have their own opinions on it. However, during the time the other masters abandoned us, only Momonga-sama stayed until the end, so if you were to use that name we would certainly feel full of joy. Elbda bowed her head and Ainz was speechless. The words abandoned us echoed in his mind. All his former companions had their respective reasons for leaving. Yggdrasil was just a game. There was no reason to abandon their real lives for it. This was also true for Momonga. But to leave Ainz and also that great tomb of Nezaric, would not one feel a grudge against those former companions? They even abandoned me. Did they? Maybe so, maybe not. People's emotions are pretty complicated. There is no correct answer. Raise your head, Elbda. I understand your feelings. I have decided that this will be my name. Until my companions reappear and object, Ainz-Ugan's name will refer to me. Yes, my supreme master, I am truly pleased that the person I love the most uses such a noble name. The person she loves the most, huh? The uneasy Ainz decided to ignore this problem for the moment. So that's how it is, thank you. Elbda treasured the ring she wore on the ring finger of her left hand, which she caressed with her right hand as she spoke. It was an Ainz-Ugan ring. It was her own decision on which finger she wanted to wear the ring, but the reason why that she had chosen that finger was obvious. These were Elbda's true feelings. As a man he should feel happy, but his feelings were the result of the change that Ainz had casually made in Elbda's settings, causing her to feel guilty. Elbda, your feelings for me are only the result of the alterations I made in you. They are not your true emotions. You weren't like this. What should I say next? Was using magic to alter his memories the right thing to do? Ainz couldn't continue. Looking at Ainz, Elbda asked with a smile. What kind of person was I before I got altered? A nympho. Ainz didn't know how to say that. Elbda looked at Ainz, who looked cold on the outside, but inside she was panicking and said, I think the current me is great. I don't feel sad, Ainz-sama. But what? He did not reply, but still felt an unfathomable atmosphere from Elbda's smile. She continued speaking to the silent Ainz. The most important thing is, Ainz waited for her to continue, but only muttered with a sad expression. If it bothers you. He opened his mouth stupidly, looking at Elbda's beautiful face. Her words were deeply marked in his mind, although it was now empty, but Ainz knew what she was saying and answered hastily. And no way, how could it bother me? He wasn't dissatisfied with being loved by a beauty like Elbda, at least for now. Then everything will be fine, right? It just didn't feel right. This was what he thought, but Ainz couldn't find a reason to contradict her. Everything will be fine, right? There was a mysterious air emitted in Elbda's repeated question. Ainz tried one last effort and asked, I modified Tabula Smaragdina's sense settings. Don't you want to go back to your former self? If it is Tabula Smaragdina-san, surely he would bless us with the same feelings of a father towards a daughter who was getting married. Is that so? Was he that kind of man? While Ainz was thinking about that, a metallic sound was heard. Looking at the source, they saw a sword on the floor. The Death Knight who was holding the sword had vanished. It had been summoned not long ago, which allowed the Overlord to shake off the uncomfortable topic. It disappears after some time if it is summoned by the normal method, so if I use a piece of equipment as a means to summon the knights there is an extended time, but they are not permanent. But if they are summoned using a body, they yearn for this world and they will not disappear. If there were a large number of corpses, they could be used to reinforce Nazarick. Should we collect bodies en masse? For the moment that will not be necessary. The opportunity will present itself at another time. This world has not presented us with any challenge that demands extreme measures yet, and the gold that we can obtain from business allows us sufficient solvency to defend ourselves without problems. Understood, but we must think of a way to get fresh bodies. Well, there is no point in continuing to think about those issues for the moment. Let's see. Good. It seems that it will not be necessary to use many scrolls, at least for the moment. Ainz thought as he distracted himself from the modifications he made to Elba by reading the report that had just been handed to him. Ah, that's right, it's been a little over 36 hours since the attack in Candlewood started. What is the status of Princess Twilight's group? According to the reports we have received from Dimir, they are currently aboard a transport ship from the Storm King Stowaways. They are going in the direction of what will soon be your kingdom. Apparently their objective is to reach the island of the beings who have moved under the water, of which we now know its name. It is called Mount Aris, home of the hippogriffs. At least that is what has been obtained so far from the prisoner. The supervisor answered her beloved, hippogriffs. Does that mean then that they are half horse and half griffin? But then how did they move underwater? It means then that they have to possess some item or ability that allows them to change to some variation of the hippocampus species. Wait for a second. Did she say prisoner? Did you say that this intel has come from a prisoner? Who is it? The overlord asked with a certain concern that he could hide well under his voice, which sounded like it was somewhat annoyed in the supervisor's ears, making her feel somewhat nervous. Yes, the explorers had already seen it a couple of times before. It is a female named Skyster. She called herself an hippogriff, even as she looks more like an hippocampus, but they were not been able to capture her before, since she was staying close to a deep waterway. But a few hours ago, the creature ventured further from its access point to the mainland. She is currently in one of the cells on the 5th floor. Had it been tortured for information? No, when he received it, Dimir just asked her what it was and where it came from. She gave the information without resisting. After that she was placed in the cell to be interrogated later. Fury, tax something good. I don't like the idea of torturing an innocent being, at least not if I don't gain anything of value from it. Well, I want you to bring the prisoner to the throne room in 30 minutes. I'll question this Skyster myself. At these words, Huskutus lost her composure. She was openly worried that she had annoyed her master. She believed that these words were impatience or discontent due to the slowness that she and Dimir showed in the face of the matter. Ainz-sama, I'm so sorry, said the supervisor of the Guardians, kneeling and keeping our head down. You don't need to bother with such trifles. I'll question her right away. What happened? I got it. Calm down, Elda. I'm not upset. You can get up, said Momonga, trying to reassure her. Still, I apologize. It is a disgrace to cause Ainz-sama to waste his precious time on insignificant things. What a headache. I have to be very careful with how I speak. None of that. I want to question her because I think it could be a great opportunity for us. Elda's face quickly changed emotions, going from her initial regret that she felt for having disappointed her master, to one of happiness when she realized that she had not failed, then to one of adoration when she realized that her beloved showed his wonderful intellect, and finally to one of resignation and seriousness when seeing that with only a brief description, her master had been able to find something that neither she nor the archdemon had managed to see with the full report. With much resignation, she got up, bowed and went out to carry out her orders. As you order, Ainz-sama, I will make preparations immediately, with your permission. It's alright, Elda, go ahead, see you later. Great, it seems that I managed to calm her worries, at least a little. I hope they can finish convincing her. I hope this shot does not backfire on me. Elda left Ainz's room silently and saw the leading butler of the Pleiades, who was walking towards that place. Sebastian, you arrive at the right time. Elda-sama, is Ainz-sama in his room? Yes, he is reading reports right now. Elda felt somewhat downcast, but quickly that was replaced by somewhat frantic joy. She felt some superiority. After reading our expression, Sebastian raised an eyebrow. You seem to be in a very good mood. Did something good happen? That's right. The reason Elda had been so happy about the conversation she had with Ainz was because she had told him that she wanted to marry him, and her lord had shown no signs of rejection or annoyance at the idea. That means, Elda's expression instantly changed from joy to a smile of evil and lust. It was a smile that she never showed in that presence of Ainz. This will work. It will work without a doubt. The one sitting next to our Lord will be me. Shelja will have no choice but to give up. Those were the words that expressed her thoughts as a woman, not as a supervisor. Then she made a fist with her hand and declared to the butler with motivation, "My goodness, blood is boiling." Equestria was crying uncontrollably. After the shadow creatures captured her, she was terrified, but the huge creature that they took her to was even more terrifying. His eyes shone with a deep red color, the wings on its back were similar to those of a dragon, but its figure was very different, more similar to a minotaur, and the aura it gave off froze her blood when the creature spoke, asking for her species and where she came from. She could barely complete her answer between stutters before fainting, to her deep horror, and when she woke up she found herself in this frozen cell. The strange thing was that even though there was ice everywhere, she did not feel that much cold. Sob, sob, sniff, sniff, sob, sob, sniff. Mom was right. I should have listened to her. Sniff. I'm a fool. Sniff. For ignoring her I was caught in sniff because of me. Now the Storm King has a WA to sniff. Force her to obey him. BWAAAHAAHAA. Yeah. I have never heard something so ridiculous. A voice was heard from outside the cell that made her give a small jump in surprise. Immediately afterward, the cell door opened. At the entrance a little creature was found standing, dressed in an elegant red suit, with glasses and well-groomed, with a smile on his face that rifled her feathers. I'd rather be skinned alive 1,000 times than serve such a buffoon. In his office when he was about to leave, suddenly Ainz felt like if someone speak to him and turned up. Is it my imagination? What are you going to do to me? For now, I have orders to take you before the Sorcerer King. What happens to you afterward will be entirely up to him, so get up and follow me. Demir used his mantra abomination to make the hypocrite follow his orders. For him the expression of horror and surprise on Equestria's face as she realized that her body had completely stopped obeying her was quite pleasant. They left the frozen prison and walked to the entrance. On the way Sky was worried. She was in the form of the sea pony. If she walked through very rough terrain she could get hurt, but everything was unfounded. As soon as they reached the entrance, a dark oval appeared from nowhere in front of them. It was as dark as the very bottom of the ocean and barely touched the floor, but was as thin as parchment. The creature in the red suit crossed it unceremoniously. She tried to resist but it was useless. When she was about to cross, she closed her eyes in fear. After a moment the only alteration she could feel was the sensation under her limbs. She went from the hard and cold surface to the softest one she had ever felt. This made her open her eyes immediately, but she saw before her eyes left her without breath. Had it not been for the mantra abomination she would have collapsed from the impression. In front of her was a gigantic double door. It was easily more than 7 meters high. The surface was not engraved, it was sculpted. There were two opposing figures, one with fine and delicate details, while the other was rough and aggressive. The only thing they had in common was the level of detail. Both seemed capable of moving at any moment. Although they appeared to be pretty heavy wood, when approached, they opened without generating the slightest sound. In the room that was revealed behind them was even more impressive. The roof was so high that she was forced to look up directly to see if it existed. Huge gold chandeliers with exquisite engravings hung from the ceiling, full of inlaid jewels. These bathed the room in a slightly bluish light. On the sides were columns adorned in gold. They were so thick that even the largest of hippogriffs will be able to hide behind them, even with their wings fully extended, without a doubt. But indisputably the center of attention in the room was the huge throne that seemed to have been sculpted from a single obsidian crystal, and sitting on it was the most terrifying entity Equestria's eyes had ever seen. It appeared to be a skeleton, but where the eyes should have been when the creature still had meat on its face, there were some small flames, and it had sat another being with horns in its head and wings behind it, stood by with soft features and curved. Sky thought that maybe it was a female. When they arrived in front of the throne, the creature in red ordered her to prostrate, and it also prostrated. Then the unthinkable happened. The skeleton spoke. I have brought her, as per your orders, Ainz-sama. Good job, Demir. I see you have her under the influence of your mantra abomination. That won't do. Release her. I need her to be able to respond freely. Yes, as you wish. Releasing control. Where am I? Why, you are not the Storm King, are you? Equestria stammered to the skeleton on the throne, as she was grateful to have been prostrate when released from control. Otherwise, she would have collapsed on the ground in fear. First of all, let me introduce myself. I am Ainz, the Sorcerer King, and to answer your question, you are at this moment in my humble home. The hippogriff was dumbfounded, no, rather completely frozen. This thing in front of her was a king. A king. And I have been talking to him as if he were my jailer. If I want to be able to go home, I must behave well. I apologize for my disrespectful behavior, Your Majesty. The sea pony said, prostrating herself more deeply, ignoring that the archdemon beside her gave his approval to such a reaction. It does not matter, given the way you got here. It is understandable. I have ordered you to be brought here because I wish to speak to you directly. If you answer with lies, you will be returned to your cell immediately. If you do not answer what I wish, the same will happen. Ainz said, putting a little more emphasis on the last part, causing a torrent of thoughts in the hippogriff. If I don't answer, I'll be locked up. I hope you don't ask me something I don't know anything about. Look, I will respond as best as I can, Your Highness. My first question is, who are you? My own name is Equestria. I am the heir to the hippogriff throne, although I think you already knew that, right? A princess, but what the hell was she doing alone in an abandoned city? It was more of a theory. Tell me, how come you are a hippogriff, while you look more like a hippocampus? My people use the magic of a pearl to change shape, said the princess, sure that this would not be a problem. After all, these creatures had not followed her to the water before. In addition, they did not know the exact location of Equestria. Ooh, that's interesting. Will it be a Yggdrasil item? What would its limits be? I see, that's something interesting. How long have you lived underwater? We moved a little over 2 years ago after several of our allies were subjugated and we repelled the scouts of the Storm Empire. Now I understand. That explains the destruction in the city. It couldn't be just by abandonment. What is the name of your current ruler? The current ruler of the hippogriffs is the Queen Novo, my mother. Lastly, what is your relationship with Equestria? What? Aren't you going to ask about our troops or how many of us are in total? Politically, we are neutral. Extra officially, we are on friendly terms. At least that's what my mother told me about it. Very well. You see, Princess Equestria, neither you nor your people are my targets. Who I am after is the Storm King. I am going to take his empire. Hearing him say so casually that he would overthrow the ruler of the world's largest empire, Star lost what little control she had managed to gather. What? That's impossible. His army is probably the largest and most powerful in the whole world. She could have continued, but her surprise was suppressed by the chill she felt. There was no need to turn. The creature next to her was upset, and judging from its eyes, the one standing next to the throne as well. Skystar hastily bowed her head and hurriedly apologized. I beg your pardon for my outburst. Your Majesty's words took me by surprise. It was something unexpected. It is not important. Certainly, it can be said that the army of that jester is numerous. Even so, for me it is nothing more than a small annoyance. The princess was speechless. The creature in front of her, this skeleton, is despising an army that numbers in the hundreds of thousands as a mere annoyance. Just how powerful is his army? The hippogriff princess wondered worriedly. Since your people are not my enemy, there is no need to keep you a prisoner, but simply releasing you would be counterproductive. Of course, I will be a tool to force my mother to do whatever he wants. The hippogriff thought, but the next words left her stunned again. Right now, the Storm King's soldiers are very close to Mount Ares, Elba. Yes, Ainz-sama. So it really was a female. Thought the hippogriff after hearing the Horn One talk. Princess Equestria is no longer our prisoner at this time. From now on she will be our guest, at least until we take care of the jester who calls himself king. Warn the servants of her stay. Also orders the servants to have one of the guest rooms set up on the 9th floor for her, and if the princess is feeling overwhelmed, or wants to get some exercise, let her take her to the 4th floor. It will be done as you order. Said the supervisor of the guardians, bowing. You can retreat to carry out your orders. With your permission, Ainz-sama. The overseer of the guardians, after bowing, retired to do her duty. As soon as she was next to the stunned Equestria, she briefly met the archdemon's gaze, a gaze in which an unequivocal sentiment was clearly stated. Both of them. Ainz-sama is second to none. Yes, Ainz-sama. Go to Titus and prepare a group of 30 klepas. We will send them as messengers to the hippogriffs. We cannot stay with the princess without notifying the queen. That would be kidnapping after all. You can leave. It will be done immediately. The guardian of the 7th floor bowed and left to fulfill his mission. Once the door of the throne room was closed behind him, he could not prevent a smile from threatening to split his face from the admiration he felt for his master. I wonder how far into the future his plans go. 100, 200, no, maybe 1,000 years. I don't know, maybe there will be an opportunity to ask him further ahead. Inside the throne room, an awkward silence stretched. What an uncomfortable silence. I already prevented them from torturing her, but now what do I do? Do I talk idly? No, ask more about her home. Right, I can do it both ways. That will do. Meanwhile, in Sky's mind. Oh no, now what do I do? I've never been alone with a foreign dignitary. Gasp, I've been silent for too long, what can I say? Just when a hippogriff was about to say the first thing that came to mind and probably makes the situation worse, Ainz interrupted her. Well, Princess Skyster, while we wait a few minutes for your room to be ready, let's talk a bit. I will allow you to ask a question for each question you answer. Now, is your transformation permanent or reversible? Star was stunned by the change in behavior of the Sorcerer King. Even the oppressive oil he gave off had completely dissipated in an instant. She was so shocked that it took her a moment to register that a question had been asked to her. It's reversible, Your Majesty. Enough, you can just call me Ainz. Are you serious? His attitude is completely different from before. If it's alright, I'll call you Ainz-sama, just like your subordinates do. I have no problem with that. Now, it's your turn to ask. Then, if you don't mind, dear Ainz-sama, could you tell me, where are you? I've never seen or heard of any scimitar creature. The swing of questions continued for almost 15 minutes. During the exchange, Ainz revealed as little information as possible, while trying to get as much as he could. On the transport ship, after an hour's flight, the M6s and Spike were found by the crew while they were discussing whether or not to ask for their help. Well, what do we have here? Said the first officer, a kind of hominid parrot with a patch that covered where his right eye should be. His plumage was green, as were almost the entire crew. Croaked the hymen in the car that seemed to have some kind of mental illness, judging by its face and the tongue that hung out of its beak. Yes, you're right, we haven't had stowaways in a long time. I think we should flag them and sell them. Told the parrot in the patch said, causing surprised expressions from the ears. Gasp, I say we should make them stew. Said the plump cook of the crew. Her plumage was a light pink color and she looked more like a love parakeet than a macaw because of her short stature. Her words caused expressions of horror, while Rainbow and AJ prepared to fight. Gasp, wait a minute, what does the manual say about stowaways, Captain Plano? Tum tap footsteps were heard approaching. One leg sounded like it was made of flesh and blood, the other had the sound of something hard against wood. The steps were accompanied by the clink of small metal pieces. The captain had an appearance similar to that of a cockatoo. Her plumage was creamy white, long lemon green feathers were borne from her head, which was covered by a black scarf. Like the rest of the crew, she was dressed in the uniform of the Storm King. In her hands can be found a thick book, from which many different colored markers were sticking out. Opened the book in one of them and began to speak. The Storm King's manual says, throw them overboard. The last part was said with a low and threatening voice. Before the response of their captain, his men acted. One prepared the plank, while the others surrounded the ponies, and just when the M6s were preparing to fight, a whistle interrupted them. It was noon. It's time for lunch, shouted the raspy voice of the ship's captain. A minute later, in the ship's dining room, both the crew and the M6s were sitting at the table, while the cook served them all. The natives of Equestria were so surprised by this turn of events that they couldn't react. The first one to recover was Twilight. She reacted just when the cook served her stew. What? She was open-mouthed. She looked at everyone at the table, trying to find logic without much success, while she followed the cook with her eyes. The next to react was the speedster. Wait, you are about to throw us overboard, and stopped for lunch? Asked incredulously the element of loyalty. Hearing her speak, the Allegran returned her attention to the table and leaned in slightly, while shooting a piercing look at her friend, who shouted, really, Rainbow, are you truly asking that? In the direction of the Pegasus, who completely ignored her. The answer to Dash's question came from a large parrot that was sitting next to Fluttershy. His voice was deep. He was a veteran navigator, judging by the right hand that had been replaced by some kind of metal prosthesis. The Storm King only gives us an hour break to eat, then we must go back to work. So, you are some kind of delivery boy service? Spike asked incredulously. Delivery males and females, sure, the uniform does not favor us at all. The captain spoke with some self-pity as she stretched the neck of her uniform to the side while saying the last part. This news fell by surprise to the Mayors. He was not the captain of the ship. She was the captain of the ship. A somewhat understandable mistake after all. Cleno's voice was not so feminine because she was always shouting orders. "So, you guys could take us to Maldories," said the Princess of Friendship with a big smile as the map levitated. The map spread out next to her to emphasize her point. "At last luck is on our side. I will only have to offer adequate compensation and we could achieve our goal." The Alicorn thought excitedly, but Cleno's next words crushed her hopes. "I'm sorry, we do as the king tells us, or his anger will be worse," she said as she disdainfully manipulated the rule book in one hand, and her spirits were on the ground. "Oh, sure, you will throw us overboard," comment in a controlled voice and with annoyance. The princess, but the cook who had just sat next to her, heard her. "Ooh, don't feel bad, it's nothing personal. Dessert?" This last question gave the dressmaker some joy. "Gasp, is there dessert?" But to her disappointment, what the cook served her was a second portion of the pottage. "Oh, but you weren't always homing birds, were you?" Dash asked hesitantly. "What were you like before the Storm King?" "Sure, before we were much more adventurous," the captain answered while with one hand she raised one side of the Storm King flag that was behind her at the head of the table, revealing what was under it, getting first of all a reaction from Pinky. "I met that guy in the desert." The athlete could not believe her eyes and her excitement increased by the second. "That means, you were pirates." "We prefer the term high-risk treasure hunters," the first officer commented with a satisfied smile on his face. "You mean, pirates?" Rainbow went into fangirl mode. "No, I can believe it. I'm on board a real pirate ship. The freest, the rudest, the ones who are not afraid of the unknown." The Pegasus flew to where the flag was located and tore off the Storm King insignia to fully reveal the pirate flag underneath. "And you can be great again." Dash, "I don't think this is a good time for so." The Alicorn tried to warn her friend but was completely ignored as she stood at the table to start singing. "If you are disappointed, from what you expected nothing went well, and you think that everything is all over, but to the shame of the Pegasus and the confusion of the rest, there was no follow-up. No one felt the compulsion to hum or follow the song. The most surprised was Twilight, and the discomfort soon caused the speedster to explode. Nothing is impossible. Not even a sonic implosion. Immediately she shot towards the deck. Everyone followed after her, while the Alicorn, at the head, tried to stop her. "No, wait, don't do it, Rainbow." But it was late. When they came out on the deck, the Pegasus was already drawing behind her, multiple rainbow coils around the ship, on its horizontal axis, and just when everyone was on the deck a sonic implosion occurred in the bow of the ship and pushed all the clouds around her away. While all the crew was amazed, the Princess of Friendship was worried. Her ears were bent back and adhered to the skull while she was semi-crouched. "Oh no." Grubber was very happy, as he kept the ship on course with one hand, while with the other he ate cake, and when he was about to devour his fourth slice, an explosion of color surprised him, making him to drop it to the floor. "You saw, boss, what a beautiful rainbow." There was a startled. Tempest went to the window to see what her subordinate was talking about. "MMHM? But, that's not how a normal rainbow behaves. That's not a rainbow. There's a ship in the center," she said, looking with binoculars in the direction of the rainbow. "It must be the princess." The commander abruptly removed her assistant from the helm, changed the direction of the ship towards the rainbow, and increased the march of the ship to the maximum, then turned to see her feline guide and said in a calm voice that gave him chills, "It looks like the princess was not in the direction you were taking us. What can you tell me about it?" Capper's nerves were running high. Although he tried to control them, Tempest left the helm to Grubber, who had recovered from the push. "What's wrong? Did the cat bite its tongue?" the commander said as she approached the Abyssinian, while he tried to hide his concern under a facade of disinterest, checking his claws and cleaning them on his coat. But when the unicorn approached, he was no longer able to hold it. "Hey, how strange. Surely they must have got the wrong ship when boarding." The Cyan Pegasus was satisfied. She had managed to save her pride in the end, using her best routine. Her smile did not seem able to wane, at least until she put the first hoop on the deck. "Had you seriously do it, Rainbow Dash? We're trying to escape the Storm King's forces chasing us. And you do a sonic implosion." "Whoops. Hey, relax, Twilight. Nothing will happen. We leave them biting the dust in the city." Clang, 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 clancret. Clang, 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 clancret. The lookout sounded the alarm while aiming to port. They all turned, continued in the direction in which it was pointing, and indeed, in the distance, a ship could be seen approaching quickly, and on its prow, you could see the insignia of the Storm King. "Stormtroopers," said the captain with concern. The Alicorn fixed her pissed gaze on the element of loyalty immediately after seeing the insignia. Her face reflected a complete and atypical annoyance that threatened to turn into anger, which only got a faint smile in response. Oops. But Rainbow's intention had been achieved. The pirates had recovered their motivation after seeing something that was considered impossible to be done, so Captain Cleo reacted immediately, went to her cabin and returned with a chest, placed it on the ground, and put it on the floor. It opened. When seeing it, all the crew approached and began to remove things from it. While everyone recovered their usual equipment, the captain began to give orders. "Very good, vermin," shouted at the top of her lungs as the captain put on her hat. "It's time to show what you're worth. Equip yourself and move." Cleo took her coat and saber. The first officer took his equipment, which consisted of a short saber and a dagger. The one with the stump covered in metal took out a hook that he secured to it, and the lookout took a lifesaver that put on as a necklace. Once the entire crew was fully equipped, the orders continued. "Secure the rigging, put the cargo away, and prepare for the boarding." With these orders, one of the crew guided the nervous M6s towards the lower cargo compartment. As soon as they closed the doors, Tempest's ship fired a chain anchor that went through the hull of the pirate ship on the port side, fixing it while the chain was retracted, bringing the two ships together rapidly without being able to do anything about it. Creak. The impact caused the ship to tilt, causing almost everyone in it to lose balance. Some of the pirates rolled, but the captain and the first officer only lowered their center of gravity to avoid being pushed. In the warehouse, the M6s. They ended up making a pile of ponies, Pinky being the one who took the worst part, since she was at the bottom of the pile. On her were Rarity and Dash. In front were Twilight and Fluttershy, who had Spike and a Hug, leaving Applejack between their pairs. When the ship returned to its normal position, the echo could be heard of the chain clicking as it was retracted. Clang, 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 clang. Once everyone was again on their hooves, the polychromatic mare spoke with shame. "Hey, do you think they have seen my sonic rainbow? Are you seriously asking that?" Thump thump. When the princess was about to continue, two heavy knocks on the deck silenced her. Outside, the ships were already almost in contact. From the direction of Tempest, two gorillas leapt towards the crew, touching deck almost at the same time. Thump thump. At that moment, the bow of the military ship drew close enough to allow it to calmly transfer the captain and her aide. Clop, 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 clop. Seeing her, Cleo's eyes whitened with concern and understanding. They weren't running away, they were trying to achieve something bigger than themselves. "Very well, tell me where the princess is," the commander ordered with a level and authoritative voice. "Princess?" the captain asked as she walked to one of the boxes to check the cargo record. "Princess, nope, we are not bringing princesses, we are only bringing merchandise from the Storm King," Cleo answered, and to accentuate her comment, the lookout took out a figurine that had a rocker head. He showed it while imitating the movement of the figure himself. The unicorn began to walk slowly from one side to the other. "Do you realize, if you were sheltering fugitives, the Storm King would get very explosive?" Below deck, Twilight was very nervous and worried, which was as clear as day on her face. "We have to get out of here before they sell us," the Alicorn said in a low voice. Who responded to her concern was the polychromatic Pegasus. "Easy, Twilight, they are not going to betray us. You saw their reactions, we can trust them," said the speedster confidently. "The first stranger we trusted outside of Equestria tried to sell us out," said the princess, letting some anger seep into her tone. "Easy, nothing will happen." Faced with her friend's passivity, the element of magic huffed in annoyance while she watched the others. Rarity was hyperventilating and did her forehead slightly separated from each other as if she was dizzy, while Spike tried to calm her down. Fluttershy was in a ball. With her eyes closed and trembling with fear, Applejack simply leaned against the boxes of merchandise and covered her face with her hat, and Pinkie Pie had somehow managed to climb the highest boxes and got into one, head first. Only one of her hind legs could be seen kicking in the air. A tired sigh escaped her mouth as she put on a determined face and began to observe everything in the cellar carefully, to catalog everything that could be useful for the escape. A large waterproof flag, a full spool of rope, and a large reinforced box made of wood. When her mind registered these materials, an idea formed in her head, which put a wild smile on her face, a completely uncommon sight. "I know what to do." Using her magic, she put the reinforced crate in the center of the cargo bay and gathered everyone inside, gave Applejack the roll of rope, and Rainbow that flag. Hold this and don't drop it. That was the only warning she gave them before activating a lever. On deck, the tension only increased and increased, the pirates clutching their weapons and preparing for combat against the soldiers just a couple of steps in front of them. "Errol, this is really intense," Grover said while watching how everything developed eating cake. "I know that the princess is on this ship. If you don't tell me where she is after I count to 3, this ship will take a nosedive," continued the commander. All the pirates exchanged nervous glances. They were not sure if they could win a fight against the commander of the king's forces. The stories painted her as someone quite dangerous. 1, 2, thr.